Hello, welcome to another episode of Backyard Progression with me, Brown and Kenko. It's where I show off my backyard and show 2 weeks and how they're different. So, um, last week it was very warm and it was, at one point, it got really nice. We did a lot of work out there. Um, it was beautiful, glorious. Love when we get some very summer-like weather very early. Unfortunately for the plants, it means they also started budding and doing everything else. And of course, just yesterday, it snowed. 'Cause of course it did. This area, this weather, it's impossible to predict. The creek has been doing some interesting things, so I've been trying to keep an eye on that. Um, it diverged yesterday and decided it's going a different path, and I'm here to support it, like you gotta let your land choose its own path sometimes. And it's been really interesting to think about, like, just how important it is to get things cleaned up and the concept of spring cleaning. So, being stuck indoors, in theory, for throughout winter and not being able to enjoy outside as much, being further away from the sun, getting less vitamin D, it all factors into a point where people just don't feel as good or anything. And part of making yourself feel better is having a cleaner space. It sucks to hear. It's very easy to like let yourself go and just live in a space that's not quite great for you. But at the same time, you can get out there and make your space a little bit better. I've adored streaming because it gives me random 3-minute breaks that I have to do things to make my space nicer. I have to make my body nicer. I have to stretch and hydrate. It is designated time just to do that. And that 3 minutes has been so helpful. Like, you can get a lot done in 3 minutes. And hell, I'd even suggest take 5. You know? Have that nice, not quite round, but round for people who that matters, number. And it's wild. You can sweep the floor, do yoga, you can stretch, you can pick up those empty drinking vessels that kind of get scattered sometimes. Throw away some trash, take the trash out. There's tons of micro activities that you can do in that limited amount of time. And I try to think of it, some of this outdoor stuff like that too. Because there's a whole hell of a lot of days you don't want to do anything. Because it's frickin' snowing in April. But you can absolutely get out there for a few minutes, pick up some sticks, and think about it more in a concept of, oh yeah, the Pussy Willows are fully done in doing their thing. But beyond just doing something for you and doing the one activity, I talked about minimizing big things that give you anxiety. Well, it works the opposite way too, for me at least, where I maximize the little things I do and make sure that happen, because sometimes they can be a lot harder than some of the big things. And we tend to overlook because it gets lumped in. So it works both ways. Like, I'm not just getting outside and taking a walk, I'm caring for my body. I'm making sure that I'm ambulating and getting my blood moving a little bit better. I'm being aware of my surroundings. I'm giving my eyes a break from screens. There's more to the little activities that we're doing that don't necessarily get the play that they should. There's a lot of there's a lot that we do that gets discounted, and society's really built that for us. It's hard to get out there some days. It's hard to make sure you're doing what's best for yourself, and it can be hard just to do the basic things to survive, for sure. Like, I feel you. And then there's all the stuff at home that needs to get done. Like, it can pile up, and those little tasks can get really big. Just like the big tasks can get really small. So try to be loose in what you're making big or small in your life, and see if you can't flip them for a bit and see how that works for you. Oh, the wild onions came up and are great. I meant to look for some to show off, but after it snowing yesterday, I was kind of curious if there would be any leftover snow, and just kind of like getting on that path. This this system, this setup might not be the best, but it's what I do, and I get up, eat breakfast, go on my walk. And sometimes I forget the things that I planned to do or planned to talk about because I'm overwhelmed by some new aspect of nature showing up. And it can be wild, and sometimes you get diverted, sometimes you get distracted. That's okay. Uh, Nature doesn't have very many straight paths. And if you ask people blindfolded to walk a straight path, they're not going to. It's it's amazing. We get we're not built with direct goals in mind. We're not built with the ability to just go from A to B. We have to wander. We have to get off that beaten path, find those little things, and really, really get at them, you know? So, I've been trying to think about, like, if there's anything I need to be doing or changing. I would love to get people in here, and I'd love to do more polls, like, in the YouTube video. Feel free to drop a comment or talk a little bit about like different areas you'd like to see improved in this space. It's probably easier on YouTube because you get the timestamps and everything, but it's one of those scenarios of being too close to something. Because I've been here for so long, it can be hard to get new eyes on exactly what I'm doing or working through. And I I really kind of wish I had a 360 camera so you could kind of look through this footage and really look around. It would be so cool. I'd have to start a little further in to, respect some privacy, but I think it'd be great to really, uh, in that almost game dev style brain that I keep coming back to of like, basically, like, look where you would want to look. I mean, I'm looking where I can. And even just having the brim of a hat so I can rest something, rest the camera on something. Uh, Definitely interferes with my peripheral vision that I'm used to having, and I've bonked more than once. So unsure what the best way to to do that is, but I do end up looking, you know, kind of this downward angle a lot of the time, trying to make sure the camera's picking up what I'm seeing. And a lot of tracks are really cool. So, I don't want to just be looking like straight ahead. I don't want to be like looking upwards too often, obviously. That doesn't seem like it's very helpful. But at the same time, I don't know, like there's plenty of different spaces that it would be very cool to have a better look at. I have no idea how I'd stream it because it would have to be like where I would want to look, right? And it'd be a lot cooler if I could see like, hey, what's going on behind me? Like really good tracks there. Like, what's over here? What's there? I've been watching a ton of FMV style games lately, and just the way the movement works and like how you kind of zoom through a space or like pre-photo walking footage. I don't know, it's weird because there's so many little weird things about walking. Like head bob is a concern, sure, but if you notice, the head bob isn't exactly the camera going and like doing this weird kind of figure eight. Um, it's more wobbly. Like it just like the camera kind of going back and forth because like moving. Like if you're walking, there's a little bit of shake. It's slow in theory. Like you get little left, little like pitching. I don't know. So just thinking about like where where needs more help and being able to see it would probably be helpful. Getting the sticks out, huge task. A plus, gold star. You did it. Great job. Nothing takes that away. But there's always more to do here. There's always more deadfall and spaces that could be maintained a little bit nicer. There's all of the creeks nonsense and trying to make sure that um, there isn't any standing water for mosquitoes to take advantage of. Love this pond. Still, highlight of this past week was not for this video, was finding that there are little salamanders or anoles that live in that pond. Because no one in this family knew we had those in there. Like, that's so wild. Living here be what, 70 plus years and just you don't know one of the creatures that's in your space. I love that. I love that new discovery feeling of like, wait, you got the rare spawn. So you can kind of see that there's a lot of debris and whatnot, and it's all gone now. It's so nice to get that stuff out. I really kind of want a wood chipper slash plastic grinder. Think that'd be really good to have. But, you know, funds and whatnot. Because it would be great to line some of this path with sawdust. Make that a little bit nicer. Help, you know, some of the low points. Because shoveling gravel it feels like a weird job. It's really strenuous, not that great. Like, you don't feel big rewards, because a lot of the time, the gravel sinks to the bottom. You've made a difference. The water is flowing nicer, or like flowing out of that section you just put gravel into. But boy, does it not feel good when you're doing it. And it's just like, well, I threw another shovel of gravel into the abyss and nothing happened. Just like plunking it off the end of the world in something like, or down into the void of Minecraft. Like, yep, I sure moved that gravel. But I suppose, like, it is one of those things where I need to be softer on myself and each of these jobs that need doing. Because they're all important. They're all leading to a nicer space. I have no idea what to do with this space. Like, all of these wood bits that my family just thought were a good idea, just everywhere. Hmm. But creek's going this way now. It has reopened a touch to flow over through this way. Keep this water flowing. I'm all for that. But, so there's a little bit more coming through. I would like this to drain out, but that doesn't seem to be doable. But we'll get there. This is new. This is a learning experience for everyone involved. We'll get there. It's fine. Yeah. So, picking up some trash, because there was a balloon that popped or some tinfoil or something. It's wild just how much trash is in the creek. It's super important to me to pick it up. Um, no idea why or how it gets there. Something to be considered. Like, I should try to build a catch or something, probably right in here, to really see what's coming through and why. Okay, but yeah, new flowers where the daffodils are out. And we'll do a quick BRB, switch over to this week. Alright, this week. Cold. It is not nice out. You can kind of see the remnants of the snow, but also you can see that the cherry blossoms are coming in, and this little bush is flowering. Look how cool these are. Flowers that happen every year. I forget if those are technically annuals or perennials. I believe they're the second one, but all the same. Uh, they blow my mind. It's so cool that they just keep coming back. And in theory, they could make more. Like, it's all increase. It's the kind of crop you want in Stardew, the one I've been really pushing, because it's nice not to have to do the work. It's nice that you can just have that come up every year. You don't need to retill the soil. Everything is solid. It's gonna do its thing. You don't need to do anything. And I would love more of that. Like, we have wild asparagus. That's really cool. It is a very short window where you can harvest it, but all the same, it's really cool that we have it. And I should probably like highlight that space. Try to make sure, check in so you don't miss that window. Like the elderberries are great. The black raspberries, wonderful. Love them. Fruit trees, same deal. Being a diabetic makes that all kind of hard, but you know, the ramps are an important, or I suppose, I don't know if they're ramps. They're wild onions. Be clear. I hear people call them ramps. I'm unfamiliar if that's actually the term I want to use for it. But all the same, make up a walking stick here real quick. Just toss the additional ends over there. I've wandered through a patch that I cleared rather than the usual path. And we are onward. There's some interesting aspects of a walking stick that just having more limbs on the ground improves your speed a little bit. Like you're a little bit more sure-footed, so you end up moving a little faster. With a lighter stick, stuff like that, when you're just kind of just touching the ground and going. Good form also helps here, making sure you're like getting that good wrist motion. Because again, a lot of different moving parts in these walks, not just getting your legs moving. Beyond that, you know, your feet have so many bones. So it's probably worth thinking about that. Like, you are moving your entire body, and specifically bits that need more movement. Yeah, Pussy Willow is still doing Pussy Willow things. It's a lot. There's a lot. It's a hard world out there, for sure. And I feel like there's so much that we could be doing to improve just little spaces in our own life. It came up somewhere that I'm absolutely the person in college who picked up the trash, the litter, and throw it away. It's it's a mindset to be in to make the spaces that you engage with nice. Make make your own space great. Cause you never know what change could do. You could make things even better than they've ever been. Things might not have been great to start with, and you can finally get them to a good place. The endless chore of cleaning is incredibly hard, and no shade for anyone who lives in a messy house, especially if you have kids and a job, and it's a lot. There's too much to do, not enough time, and consuming media, not not to throw shade at anyone consuming this media now, so keep that in mind. Consuming media is a lot. When it's not stacked, it's not doing a whole lot for you. I mean, rest is important. Keep that in mind. If you're resting, boom, you are stacking. Make sure you're hydrating and eating healthy. Little, little things. Take your meds. You know, baseline things. Oh, right here. Check this out. This is really cool to me, specifically. Eh. So, I talk about new growth a lot. And there's rarely a good example of what new growth looks like. But this little tree right here shows off such a good uh, it's so good. I come back and like talk about it here. So you can see that this looks almost dead at this point down here, but then it turns into this lush brown. Like, this is all the same plant here. It's got nice new leaves. These are all coming through. And, like, you can tell right here upwards, you've got new growth because it looks so much nicer. It's so cool and different the way different plants work. So yeah, you can get a better look. How cool is this little tree? Just great example of, like, people don't have that. People very often don't have a good identifier for when they've had growth and what things they've changed or made better, because we've got a lot of things like cleaning chores that pile themselves up constantly. They are constantly adding. So if you do a giant load and get everything away, there'll be more dishes later. But, like, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. You just have to continue to eat off clean surfaces. You don't want to get sick. And it's just a pain. I mean, there's different ways to approach it. And you can think about life like that as well, where there are some people who eat a meal and then go do dishes that they've just made. That's a concept. It really puts in the delineation of work, like, kind of creating that gap point for you if that's a thing you need. It's important, I would suggest, for a lot of people to get everyone involved. Like, hey, you made these messes. Let's clean it up together. So everyone gets a little bit of responsibility, because everyone, I'm pretty sure, everyone hates cleaning someone else's mess up. It's There's very easy sentiments of resentment, and it can breed very quickly and grow other situations into very hostile engagements. Like, it's it's a simple thing that the chores need to be done, and some people lived in a situation where they needed to be told to do the chores. It wasn't it didn't click to them that, someone needed to do these things and they need to be told. So that puts more burden on the person in charge of the home, and making sure it's nice. Like, I suddenly have to do your work for you. You can't just see that these things are that need doing at all. Like, it's not in your mindscape to do these things. And that can be a lot. So sometimes having that delineation of work, having like a little reminder board, can be really important for people like that, to be like, oh yeah, if there's dishes that I made, I should do them. There's a lot of excuses out there, and they are excuses for the most part. It's like, oh, I ate real quick, I had to, run off to work after. And that's fine, but when you get back, you should do them. Like, yeah, you're tired and everything, but while you're making your lunch or dinner or whatever, while that's cooking, or you're waiting for it to arrive, you can do something with that time. Like, have a podcast on, have a stream on, have something to listen to, maybe some music. Stack your time. Have an audiobook on. Do the dishes. Make sure spaces are cleaned. it's it's amazing uh how much time we end up sitting and doing nothing. It's it's kind of wild. There's so much to do out there, and we feel like we have no time a lot of the time. And there are some activities that require all of our focus. And that can be a lot. And you want to space those out. You don't want to have to be at 100% all the time. That's untenable, for sure. Everyone has bad days. Everyone can have something that's bothering them in the back of their mind that they need to continue just existing, though. Like, sometimes you lose family members or pets or anything, and it can be a lot to just keep going, but life kind of demands that you do it. So give yourself grace as we move in through spring. Remind yourself that, yeah, I can clean, I can get this stuff done. It doesn't all have to be done right now. Unless that is a thing that you want to do for yourself. Like, if you're the kind of person where you need to do it all in one sitting while the energy is there, because that energy is rare and it's pointed, then yeah, maybe like try to hone in and harness when you get those feelings, and but give yourself grace to be human, to be flawed, to not always communicate the best. We are all raised with different communication styles. There's so much that oftentimes the communication style you end up with is opposite the way you were raised. So, in my family, um, my parents weren't around a whole lot. They were working, trying to make sure that we were provided for. So, a lot of things needed done and they didn't need to be expressed. So, I grew up in a situation where I was required to be a mind reader. Like, it was just part of the job description. And that sucks. So, my communication style is much more open and asking and being like, hey, do you need help? Do you want help with this? Can we work together on something here? Um, what needs doing? What can we do to make things better? Let's let's work together. Let's communicate and like talk through some of these things. And there are times where like, some people would prefer the mind reader and just do something and we can do our best to like go from there and make things the way they need to be. Other people. Other people have a very particular way of things they want done. So the food can't just be away in the pantry. It has to be itemized. It has to be where it goes. Like there are subsets of spaces sometimes. And if you're spending an hour putting away the groceries, for example, sometimes you need to loosen some self-imposed restriction. Sometimes you need um to really give yourself that space of like, okay, yeah, I mean like most of the time when I look through the pantry, I'm looking through the pantry. I'm not going to the A4 specific spot to like warehouse management style of like this is where the pasta is. It can just be like pasta zone or whatever. and then you figure out which one you want. It doesn't, like, having the stuff up there doesn't mean, oh no, the pasta is not in alphabetical order. I can't find it. Like, if you just glance, you're gonna find it for the most part. um, you know, Sorting's weird like that. There's a lot of bits of our life that we've sorted and created buckets for. And sometimes our sorting methods are just too advanced for what we're doing, and we're spending far too much time trying to do a very simple task because we've made it out to be a bigger task. You know, Sometimes the groceries can just go away. They can get put in the fridge, they can get put in the pantry. It'll be fine if we're looking for things and there are places that they make more sense. Sure, can move some stuff around. But uh, having everything away, to me, was always easier than um, having just bags on the floor and having that, well, this specific item has to go here in this part of the pantry, and, like, this part of the fridge is for this or that. Like, I can understand. Like, there are some reasonings that make a lot of sense for that. But give yourself space, give yourself leniency in this coming spring. I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. And I'm going to my ending screen, and I'm going to throw up a marker because I'm trying to be better at this YouTubing thing. So thank y'all for watching. I'm going to be playing some more Minecraft on my stream, but for all you YouTube folk, feel free to leave a comment. See what spaces that you would want to improve or make better, or like what different aspects should I be focusing on? The creek, the land, and because, I'm curious what other people would come up with. Uh, Thank y'all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye. Okay, great. I'm going to do a quick BRB, make sure my blood sugar is all good, and then we're going to get into some Minecraft.